Marcus wiped the sweat from his brow as he pushed the heavy cart down the gleaming marble hallway of Pinnacle Industries' 42nd floor. The grandfather clock in the corner chimed 11:47 p.m., and his shoulders ached from another 14-hour day at 53. His body reminded him daily that 23 years of night shifts had taken their toll. But when he thought of his daughter Emma sleeping peacefully in their small apartment across town, every ache seemed worth it. The executive offices on this floor were a world away from the cramped two-bedroom apartment he shared with Emma. Here, mahogany desks cost more than his annual salary, and the view of the city's skyline stretched endlessly into the night. Marcus had cleaned these offices for over 2 decades, invisible to the men and women in expensive suits who made decisions that affected thousands of lives. He knew their habits, their late-night coffee preferences, even their personal struggles, overheard during heated phone calls. Yet to them, he was just another piece of the building's infrastructure. Tonight felt different, though. Tomorrow would bring the biggest deal in Pinnacle Industries history, a $200 million merger with Blackstone Corporation that would secure the company's future for decades. The entire building buzzed with nervous energy, and even the janitor's closet seemed to vibrate with anticipation. As Marcus approached the corner office belonging to CEO David Sterling, he noticed the light still on. This wasn't unusual. Sterling was known for his relentless work ethic. What was unusual was the sound coming from inside, quiet, muffled sobs that made Marcus pause with his hand on the door handle. Through the slightly ajar door, he could see Sterling hunched over his desk, his usually perfect silver hair disheveled, his face buried in his hands. Scattered papers covered the mahogany surface, and Marcus could make out the Blackstone Corporation logo on several documents. The man who commanded respect from Wall Street titans was breaking down. Alone in his office at nearly midnight, Marcus had seen Sterling celebrate victories and weather storms, but he'd never seen him like this. The CEO who could negotiate billion-dollar deals with ice-cold precision was trembling like a lost child. Something was terribly wrong. Quietly, Marcus retreated, but Sterling's broken voice stopped him cold. 23 years, Sterling whispered to the empty office. 23 years building this company, and tomorrow it all falls apart. Marcus knew he should leave. He should push his car to the next office and pretend he hadn't witnessed this vulnerable moment. But something in Sterling's voice, the same desperate tone he'd heard in his own voice when Emma was diagnosed with leukemia 5 years ago, made him stay. The next morning, Marcus arrived at work to find the building in chaos. News vans lined the street, and employees huddled in groups, whispering anxiously. The Blackstone deal had exploded overnight. Allegations of financial impropriety had surfaced, and Sterling was being investigated by the SEC. The company's stock had plummeted, and rumors of bankruptcy swirled like autumn leaves in a hurricane. Marcus went about his duties mechanically, but his mind kept returning to Sterling's broken form from the night before. He'd seen enough in his years of cleaning offices to know when someone was facing their darkest hour. The same look had been in his own eyes when the doctors told him Emma's treatment would cost more than he could ever afford. That evening, as the last of the frantic employees finally went home, Marcus made his way to Sterling's office. The CEO sat in darkness, staring out at the city lights below. His usual commanding presence had been replaced by the hollow shell of a defeated man. "Sir?" Marcus knocked softly on the doorframe. Sterling looked up, his eyes red-rimmed and distant. "Oh, Marcus, I'm sorry. I'll be out of your way soon. Actually, sir, I wanted to give you something." Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I wrote this for you last night after I saw how you were hurting." Sterling took the note with shaking hands, his brow furrowed in confusion. As he unfolded it, Marcus quietly slipped away, leaving the CEO alone with his words. The note was written in Marcus's careful handwriting on a piece of lined paper, torn from a spiral notebook. "Mr. Sterling, I know it's not my place to write this, but I've been watching you for 23 years. I've seen you make the hard decisions, fight for your employees, and never give up when things got tough. I don't know what you're going through right now, but I know it's not over. 5 years ago, when my daughter Emma was dying of leukemia, I thought my world was ending. I worked 3 jobs, sold everything I owned, and still couldn't afford her treatment. I was ready to give up. But then something happened that changed everything. Your company's health insurance covered her experimental treatment. The copay that should have been $300 was reduced to $50 because of the policy you fought to give us. You saved my daughter's life, And you probably don't even remember signing that policy. But I remember. Emma graduated high school last month with a full scholarship to medical school. She wants to become a pediatric oncologist to help kids like her. That's her legacy, Mr. Sterling. That's what you built here, not just a company, but a place where people take care of each other. Whatever you're facing, you're not facing it alone. We're all here because you showed us what it means to be human first, businessman second. Don't let them take that away from you. Don't let them take you away from us. Marcus Rodriguez, night janitor, floor 40 to Sterling read the note 3 times, his hands trembling more with each pass. He had signed dozens of policy changes over the years, most of them forgotten in the endless stream of corporate decisions. But this one had saved a life. This one had given a little girl a future. For the first time in weeks, Sterling felt something other than despair. He felt purpose. The next 3 days were a blur of meetings, phone calls, and legal consultations. Sterling worked with a renewed energy that surprised everyone, including himself. He carried Marcus's note in his jacket pocket, reading it whenever doubt crept in. The investigation continued, but Sterling faced it with the quiet strength of a man who remembered why he'd started fighting in the first place. On Thursday morning, Sterling called an emergency meeting with the Blackstone Corporation executives. The conference room was tense as lawyers and accountants spread documents across the polished table. Richard Blackstone, the imposing CEO of the acquiring company, drummed his fingers impatiently as he waited for Sterling to begin. Gentlemen, Sterling began, his voice steady and clear. I want to share something with you before we proceed. He pulled out Marcus's note and read it aloud, his voice growing stronger with each word. When he finished, the room was silent except for the distant hum of traffic 42 floors below. This is what we're really talking about, Sterling continued. Not just quarterly reports and profit margins, but the lives we touch, the families we support, the communities we serve. If this merger goes through, I need your guarantee that our employee benefits will be protected, that our values will be preserved. Richard Blackstone leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. David, I've been in this business for 30 years, and I've never heard anyone read a janitor's note in a board meeting. Maybe that's the problem, Sterling replied quietly. Blackstone was quiet for a long moment, then slowly nodded. You're right, the deal is back on. But we do it your way. Employee benefits are protected, values are preserved, and I want to meet this janitor who reminded you what leadership really means. That evening, Sterling found Marcus in the break room, heating up a cup of coffee in the microwave. The janitor looked up in surprise as the CEO approached. Marcus, I wanted to thank you, Sterling said, sitting down across from him. Your note, it saved more than just a deal. It saved me. Marcus smiled, his weathered face creasing with warmth. Emma always says that sometimes the most important words are the ones we're afraid to say. I was afraid to write that note, but I'm glad I did. How is Emma? Sterling asked. She starts medical school next month. She's going to specialize in pediatric oncology, just like she said in the note. She wants to help kids the way your company helped her. Marcus paused, his eyes growing misty. She knows what you did for her, Mr. Sterling. She knows you saved her life. Sterling felt tears welling up in his eyes. I'd like to meet her someday, if that's okay. She'd like that too, Marcus said. She's working the morning shift at the Children's Hospital this weekend, volunteering in the cancer ward. She says it reminds her where she came from and where she's going. 2 days later, Sterling found himself in the pediatric oncology ward of Children's Hospital, watching a young woman with her father's gentle eyes and warm smile read stories to a group of sick children. Emma Rodriguez had inherited her father's gift for seeing the humanity in everyone, and it showed in the way she connected with each child. When she finished reading, Sterling introduced himself. Emma's face lit up with recognition and gratitude. You're the reason I'm here, she said simply. Not just alive, but here, doing this work. Dad's told me so much about you. Your father is an extraordinary man, Sterling replied. He reminded me what this is all about. Emma nodded, looking around at the children in the ward. He taught me that sometimes the most important job isn't the one with the biggest title or the highest salary. It's the one that lets